Good morning. It is our WildFlow gathering for the Be Well Oasis every Thursday morning, 9:30. Here we go. We start this gathering by getting in our body and beginning to get in our body in ways that may stretch what we are used to, how we're used to being in our body, even if we have an embodiment practice. Sometimes that embodiment practice can follow a routine or an unspoken linear pattern or that is useful to break out of and useful to begin to learn how to tap into a more intuitive place within you that allows you to dictate how your body wishes to move. And so I'm going to use a for instance today. Today, I've been thinking a lot about, and I've brought it up here many times, but we're going to revisit this idea that our body is meant to spiral. Our body is meant to feel what it's like to be strong in the twisting and turning parts of our life. And so if we have, for instance, discomfort in our back, discomfort in our hips, discomfort in our knees, then what your body may actually be looking for is lengthening and strengthening in ways that it's unfamiliar to. And so how does that translate? Let's get into it. So first, take some time to close your eyes if that feels good to you. If you're in a chair and you have access to the floor, I strongly recommend visiting the floor. If you're in a chair but you don't have access to the floor, I strongly recommend finding a way to stand and support yourself. And so what I'd love to discourage is simply sitting in a chair, because we do that a lot. But to be on the floor or to be standing already starts that process of getting into a different pattern. And so once you've gotten on your feet or gotten on the floor, I welcome you to start by creating this deeper connection to your body, to your vessel, to this incredible part of nature that you were gifted. You are a plant, you are a tree, you are a flower, you are a caterpillar, you are a butterfly, you are a bird, you are a porcupine. So as you begin to breathe into the magic that is this body, I welcome you to close your eyes so that you can begin to move from a place that is not influenced by anything that I do or that anyone else is doing, but perhaps simply influenced by some cues that I may give, and then you get to interpret those cues. So one downfall of our modern way of life is that we spend a lot of time sitting. And we drive sitting, we sit to be on our phone or stand to be on our phone, where, we spend a lot more time sitting and a lot less time naturally moving in ways that accomplish tasks. We might spend more time at the gym. We might spend more time simply walking. But what we've lost is our capacity to actually begin to lengthen and strengthen when it comes to holding ourselves in a spiral. And so actually walking and crawling are two ways that we can begin to revisit this spiraling. And so if you're on the floor, just like a couple of weeks ago, I welcome you to get on your hands and knees to experience this. If you are standing, then I'll visit that in a moment. So if you're on your hands and knees, what I mean by spiraling is supporting yourself by pressing down into the floor, but then moving over to one side. So as if you're walking, you're shifting your weight over to one knee, and you're beginning to move up and down in that side. So this is the spiraling I'm talking about. Breathing and experiencing the capacity to lengthen through one hip and strengthen through the other. So you can come back, but really if you're on your left side, then all of your energy is being placed down through the floor so that you can begin to feel it in your hip, in the outside hip. So if you're putting your weight over to your left, you're going to bring your right hand down and lift the chest of that same side. That is a very spiraling, strengthening and lengthening position. Now, if you're standing, I'm going to show you how this can translate to standing. So if you're standing, then you transfer all of your weight to one foot and hang on to something. Hang on to something that doesn't move. So you're transferring all of your weight onto one side, and then you're pulling that hip back to feel the spiral. Now you'll start to feel that hip, because you no longer have any weight on the other, and so you're really beginning to feel the strengthening and spiraling in your left hip. And then stand. It's a very subtle movement. It's this, and then you shift to the other side. And you may notice one side feels stronger and more stable than the other. So when you're on the floor, you're practicing exploring what it feels like to hold yourself up in the spiral. So, for instance, I'm here on my hands and knees. I'm going to shift to the right, and I'm going to play in that left side of my body in a spiral. So getting into that wild flow capacity by exploring the deeper muscles in the outside of your hip. Breathing and playing there. Lengthening and strengthening there. Moving from one side to the other, perhaps letting your chin and head move differently, perhaps opening your shoulder. Taking it slow and noticing. Noticing what wants to adjust. Noticing the flexibility that spiraling requires. It's a supported twist. You know, some of yoga, you do some twisting, but it's often a passive twist. The way I see spiraling different is that it's a supported twist using the strength of your system to support yourself in the twist. It requires strength in one side and nimbleness in the other. So it's playing with this balance of being strong and being flexible. And that's all of WildFlow for me is a metaphor of life. And so if we're able to begin to explore strengthening parts of us that haven't had a lot of action, then it may require lengthening parts of us that have had too much action. Use your breath. Really use your breath. Your breath will help you slow down your movements and help you to stay connected with your intuition in an exploratory fashion. If you have access to a squat is a really beautiful way of gauging how well your hips can spiral. within themselves. Deep, slow, long, luxurious breaths. If you're just squatting for the first time in a long time, you can lift your heels up. That may help if your knees aren't happy about this sort of thing, then you can ease into it. One beautiful part of a squat is that it's a squat and a forward bend are opportunities to decompress the spine. When we can decompress the spine, another beautiful way of decompressing the spine is to lie on your back and put your feet up on the couch or up on a chair. Because once you've decompressed the spine in that way, then you have more access to the length and the strength. Breathing into the last few motions of your wild flow today. Noticing what parts of you enjoyed activation that you may not have been giving much attention to. Perhaps make a commitment to revisit them within 24 hours. Within 24 hours, taking time to be in your body in a way that's creative. No real agenda other than deep observation, connection. Learning to honor your body just as it is, instead of any ways that you're wishing to force it to be different. And then bringing your wild flow to stillness. Thanking your body for all that it lets you experience. How it serves you. It may also serve you to have access to your journal. And until next week, be well.